Hello, everyone. My name is Kirsten Kimura, and I'm a personal trainer and a group fitness trainer in California, Richmond, California. And I'm also a hypothalamic amenorrhea warrior and women's overtraining coach. And today with me is Rini of Own It Babe. I love that name so much. So Rini is also a personal trainer and group fitness trainer. She's also a wife and a mom to her fur baby, Bruce. If you have followed Rini on Instagram, you know who I'm talking about. And on her blog and on Instagram, Rini shares her recovery story, recovery from disordered eating habits and getting a little bit over, let's say, obsessive with exercise and trying to find balance right now. So thank you so much, Rini, for being here today.
Yeah, of course. I'm really excited.
Yes, me too. I've been wanting to contact with you long time, because when I first found you on Instagram, I was like, this girl, she's my girl. I already love her.
I felt the same when I went on your Instagram. I was like, she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah. All right. So let us know a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me take it back all the way. I was born and raised in Germany. And I've lived in Calgary in Canada for the past few years because my husband's from here. So we met traveling in Australia, which is like the other side of the world. And then one of us had to do the move. So now I live here. And yeah, I'm a personal trainer and group fitness instructor by day, I guess. And then I'm also a blogger and a body image mentor to people that are recovering from disordered eating and that are a little bit further along in their recovery. Maybe they're trying to get their period back or trying to seek out more balance in their lives. Maybe they're still plagued by, body image battles and disordered eating thoughts, and they just want to get to an ultimate place of peace with food and their body. So that's what I do.
That's amazing. You're doing a great job on Instagram and with your blog. So I'm sure a lot of women are finding you every day and really appreciating what you do. But why don't you let us know a little bit more about your fitness background and when things started to go a little bit overboard for you?
Absolutely. So I've always been into fitness. I actually remember joining a gym with my mom, and that was like totally not weight loss related. It was just for fun. I was, I think, 11 years old, and I just loved it. And I remember looking at the instructors and thinking, I want to be an instructor one day. And I think they're just so strong and amazing. So I've always loved it. And when I finished high school, I did my personal training degree, and I started kind of personal training on the side a little bit. I always did it like here and there, but I never thought that, this was going to be my full-time job. But I always loved fitness. And then, when I was 18, my first eating disorder kind of really escalated. So this is when things started to go down the first time. So that was my anorexic phase. So I was severely malnourished. I exercised, mainly did cardio back then. So I would just run and run for hours on end. So that was back then my sort of fitness, I guess. And then once I then recovered a little bit from that phase, I found a little bit more of a healthier relationship to exercise, but it never actually went back to the place I used to be when I was really young, when I would exercise with my mom. So I always had those disordered thoughts kind of in the back of my head. And I always felt like I needed to exercise more. I wasn't doing enough. I need to do more. My job I got into it for personal reasons. And I think a lot of us personal trainers do. Like a lot of us struggle with something. So then we get into it full time in order to hopefully find the magic, solution to all of our problems that are just all perceived. They're not actually real problems. So I guess things really started to go down when I got into bodybuilding combined with my excessive cardio routine. So the cardio was bad for me to begin with in terms of hormones, but once I coupled that with weight training, and I believe I started that 2013, 2014, when I really got into bodybuilding, I would work out for hours a day. I would definitely weight train for 2 hours. And then at night, I would go back to the gym and do my cardio. So this is when things really went downhill, because throughout the entire time I was really struggling with my eating, whether that was anorexia, which then morphed into bulimia. The bulimia then morphed into orthorexia, where I would, just obsess over eating like a bodybuilder. So like those 6 portioned out small meals per day. I was malnourished. I was exercising to a point where I would just come home at night and just crash on the couch at 7:30 p.m. because I was just exhausted. So yeah. And then I guess I started, getting away from that excessive exercise once I actually decided to recover. But yeah, it went down fairly quickly for me, I guess.
So how many years would you say you were on this kind of roller coaster of trying one diet after another and, prepping for a competition? And
yeah. I would say about 12 years, and the first 2 years of those 12 weren't as excessive. I mean, I definitely tried out some diets, but it wasn't to a point where I felt like there was no way out anymore, and this is just going to be it for the rest of my life. So I definitely started dieting at a very young age. I was 50, I mean, people start way earlier these days, but back then I guess it was fairly early. I was 15 years old. I was like dieting because one of my friends was dieting or whatever, and it wasn't really that serious. The first actual diet that propelled me into my disordered eating was a water fast. I did that when I was 17. So for a week, I just basically ate nothing. I just drank teas, broths, and water. And I lost a ton of weight, and then I was just hooked. And after that, I became a raw vegan. Like, it just went really, really fast. Within 6 months, I was so deep into my eating disorder that, everybody but me was worried. I just thought I was being super healthy. So that was the phase where I went raw vegan. I would pretty much only eat vegetables and fruit. I can't remember eating anything else. Sometimes I would eat like a soup, like a cold soup. It was crazy. And then I just remember one day waking up, and this hunger was so intense that I just knew I needed to eat. Like, I couldn't hold back anymore. It was just this overpowering urge to eat. It was very primal. So this is kind of what started my bulimic phase. And I wouldn't say that's a diet. It was more like I kept trying to go back to the old diet of mine, which was raw vegan. So I kept trying to go back to that, but my body kept rebelling. And then I would exercise more to make up for it, So it's just like this whole circle, eating, exercising, not eating, starving myself, eating too much, exercising, like it's just all one big circle. But there's other diets that I definitely tried, because at some point I was like, okay, the raw vegan diet doesn't work for me, but I can definitely find something else that's going to work for me, so I don't have to go through these binges anymore. So for a while, I did the ketogenic diet before it was actually cool. It was actually a few years ago. I had heard about it. So I tried that. Didn't work for me. I did it for 3 months. It completely messed up my hormones. By the way, throughout these entire years, I didn't really have my period. I lost it completely for 2 years, and then the other years it was like on and off, on and off. So the ketogenic diet definitely messed that up even more. It also gave me a very low thyroid. So that was a diet that I would never recommend to anybody, especially if you have a history of disordered eating. What else did I do? I did so many things. I did try a few more water fasts, or I don't know if you've heard of it. It's that like Beyonce diet or whatever, the Master Cleanse.
I have not.
Oh my gosh. So I guess for 10 days, you don't eat anything. You drink basically warm water with maple syrup, lemon, and black pepper. And that's like all you drink. You consume nothing other than that. And like, I had read that Beyonce dropped like, I don't know how many pounds, and she did that. So I thought, naturally I'm just going to do it too, because all I wanted was to just be perfect. What else did I do? So many diets. The clean eating diet was probably the one that I did for the longest time. That was during my orthorexic phase. So, clean eating is a very vague term, I guess, but in my case, it was basically just eating six foods. So I would always have the exact same meals day in, day out. The only foods I would allow myself to eat would be protein powder after my workouts. I would eat dried chicken breast with asparagus or broccoli. Sometimes I would allow myself to have oatmeal. That was like the only carbohydrate source that was in my diet. And like I would eat the weirdest stuff. Like I would just dump like a tablespoon of coconut oil on my chicken breast because I needed to add fats into my meal. So it was nothing about like enjoying food. It was all like, this is what I need to eat to achieve my goal. So that was, I guess, the longest diet that I held on to. But there's definitely a few things that I did here and there, like trying to go vegan, vegetarian, cutting out foods, going on elimination diets, cutting out dairy and gluten. Gluten was also a big thing for me. I told myself I was gluten intolerant, even though all the celiac tests that came back were negative. So I'm definitely not celiac, but I just got so into my head about, being allergic to gluten that I basically made myself sick every time I would think that I consumed gluten and had like a few breakouts or whatever. I would just completely blame it on that. So gluten-free was also a big thing.
I feel like a lot of times people are looking for the next thing that they should eliminate because that's what the trends say. And then they think that I have this thing, but in the back of the point is actually always to lose weight, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
that's
totally.
the hope, right?
Yeah.
So I know somebody who was vegan for a long time, and I mean, it's fine, you can be vegan if you want to, but later, several months later, she actually told me that she was she was not vegan because of the let's not eat animals, right? Or animal products, but she just wanted to lose more weight and hoping that this is the secret that will finally help her, right?
That is so true. I mean, I always, every single day, I would research the next thing. I would research like how to eat healthier, how to clean up my diet even more. Even though my diet was so restrictive already, I thought I still haven't found like this one magical thing that is going to turn everything around, So yeah, definitely. This is how I personally got into the keto diet because I was like, oh, I'm eating clean, but maybe I'm just eating too many carbs, maybe this is the thing that I'm doing wrong. So we just get oblivious to the signals that our bodies are sending us, unfortunately. And we just listen to the media. We listen to people we follow on social media. And the last thing we do is listen to what our bodies actually need.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm working with women who have lost their periods and want and need it back as they should be. And then some of them have asked me, okay, I don't know what works. Should I try intermittent fasting or keto? I'm like, please don't. Because I mean, the reason why we lose our periods is a lot of stress, and our body perceives starvation as stress, right? So now if you have those like 12 hours, or no 12, but like 16 hours when you're not eating, this is sending even more signals that things are not okay. You are not safe. No, you're not going to get your period like that, right? So, no.
Because basically we lose our periods because our bodies don't want us to reproduce because they think it's unsafe to put a baby into this world right now, right? So unless they perceive us as being safe, having enough food, having enough rest, they just think that we're being chased by a bunch of tigers all the time because we're so stressed and we're so malnourished. So definitely makes so much sense. I'm glad you're telling them to not do that.
Yeah, and I feel like one problem is also that a lot of this research is done by men and on men.
Yes.
And women's and men's bodies react really differently to like longer periods of not eating. And I think I've talked about this example somewhere before too, but my husband he's sort of like accidentally fasting because he doesn't have to eat until noon.
Yeah.
By that time I'm eating either lunch or my second breakfast, and I could not do it. But for him, it's natural. So I'm just wondering, it might be that it's more natural to men in general than it is for women. And that's not to say that it doesn't never work for any women, but I would say that I've never seen anyone getting their periods back on a keto diet or on intermittent fasting. No,
I
please.
completely agree. It's actually funny you bring that up because I don't know if you know Stephanie Ruper. Do you know her?
Yes, yes, I do
Okay,
listen to her
okay.
podcast too.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is where I got that information from as well. So she actually was like the first person that did some research into how women do on intermittent fasting because she actually pointed out that all the research is done by men and they're all like healthy men. So like this is just not a fair indicator, of the research that we are exposed to as women because none of us are represented in that research. So it's definitely an important factor in all that, to approach it with caution if you are thinking about doing intermittent fasting or doing the ketogenic diet. So definitely look into that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about all these diets you have ever tried. So what was the reason? Was there something missing in your life? Did you have the need to prove yourself? Or why did it all start? Do you have any idea?
That's an interesting question. I've thought about that a lot, and I think it's a combination of things. I think it's a combination of how I was brought up in my home. So my parents brought me up, you know, telling me that I should never fight with anybody. I should never have a discussion. I should never disagree with anybody. I should always try to fit in, even though they maybe didn't do that on purpose. They just wanted me to be safe, but they always wanted me to kind of conform to other people's opinions and like please other people. So naturally, I'm a big people pleaser. And then in high school, I was always friends with girls that I like adored and looked up to. So I was never actually friends with somebody that like appreciated me for who I am, if that makes sense. So I would always just look up to them and I always compare myself to them and I always wanted to be like them. So that's definitely the second factor in that I wanted to be, as skinny as them, as tall as them, as beautiful as them. Like I wanted to get boyfriends like they did. Like I always tried to like please people. And I was always very, very concerned of what other people would think of me. So that's the second factor. And then number three is obviously the media. Social media wasn't a thing back then. Luckily, I mean, I don't even know where I would be right now if social media were a thing back then. But it was the magazines and like TV shows and all that stuff that played a big role. So it was all these hidden messages that I kept getting as a teenager that I wasn't good enough, I was always a very shy child and a teenager. So I never had like boyfriends or anything like that till I was 17, 18 years old. So I was always like very insecure. So I thought, maybe if I look perfect, people will like me and I don't actually have to prove anything because I'll just be beautiful, if that makes sense. So I think I just kept chasing that dragon, if that makes sense. So that's definitely how it started. And then once I was in it, it's just very hard to get out of this obsession because it's almost like an addiction. Like you want to feel like you eat healthy and you look amazing just effortlessly. You want people to think that you're just amazing just as you are. And it's more about status, I think, the older you get. So that's definitely what it was for me. I don't think that anything particularly was missing in my life. I think I just thought that once I look perfect, my life will just become perfect and I'll just have amazing friends. I have the most amazing relationships, the most amazing sex life. Magically everything will just turn into Narnia once you look beautiful. This is definitely what my thought was.
Right. Yeah, I can totally hear you on that. Being a people pleaser and trying to avoid conflicts, trying to avoid like speaking up, even if I feel like things are not the way, I cannot approve or whatever. But it's better to avoid all kinds of conflicts and it's better to avoid people thinking that I'm a bad person. So I definitely recognize myself sort of in the same pattern and never skip classes like everybody else did once in a while. No, I never did. As much as I hated something, I always did it. I think this is where we start following those nutrition rules too. Like I remember when I joined Weight Watchers, we had point system And I was the one in our group who lost weight every single week because I was just so perfect, right? So I wanted to do everything well. And it's, you know, it's, you get a lot of like admiration from people, but it's not necessarily a good thing because you have no flexibility. Your mind is so, you're only going one way. You don't see anywhere else.
And you
And
also
can
get
to
yeah, and you also get hooked on the admiration of others, I find. You know, I was thriving on these comments of, oh my goodness, how do you do that? You're always so healthy and like you always eat so perfectly. You know, what's your secret? You kind of thrive off of these comments because you can't give that love to yourself that you are seeking out.
Exactly, yeah. You're expecting others to prove you that you're a worthy person, right?
Agreed. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. So when did things started to change for you? Was there one day when you decided that that's it, I'm not gonna be the slave of this craziness anymore, or was it more gradual, and how did it happen?
So, there wasn't one specific day. I definitely knew that something was off once the binge eating came back because it was gone for a while once I started clean eating. So I thought, you know, oh, eating clean is the answer to everything. But then the binge episodes came back. So that's when I started to get worried. And it was almost like I subconsciously knew I am meant to recover. So I kept coming across people that were talking about their recovery. I remember, I don't know if you know Maddie Moon. Yeah, so I came across her profile like 3 years ago, and I remember reading it, and she was a fitness model too, and she talked about her recovery, and I just remember first getting defensive, like, oh no, that's not me, that's definitely not me, but then I kept like coming across her, and I kept reading more and more about her story and recognizing myself in that. So it was definitely like here and there, I got those messages that, you know, I can't keep up this lifestyle anymore. I can't do it, but I kept on keeping on. I just, you know, I was so desperate for that perfect body and that perfect life that everybody, the diet industry promises you. And then I do remember hitting rock bottom after my wedding. That was September 2016. I had dieted so hard for my wedding because the months before that, I had quite a few binging episodes. So I was really worried that I wouldn't look perfect, quote unquote, in my wedding dress. So I dieted down the hardest ever. And after my wedding was done, I almost fell into this deep depression. Like I had nothing else to diet for. Like, why would I keep up with this crazy lifestyle that is just doing so much damage to me? So I just went through a month of just doubting everything that I've done for the past 12 years and like almost getting mad at myself for just spending 12 years of my life just only focusing on this one thing that didn't even bring me joy, and that took my period away and that messed up my hormones and all that. And I just started doubting everything, but yet I still wasn't quite ready to give it up. So it's definitely my rock bottom, and it was definitely the first step I took in my recovery. But I did hold on to that perfect body, quote unquote, for a few months longer there. So I think my official recovery journey began about a year ago. I hired a coach to help me, to support me in my journey and to help hold me accountable for that. And yet still, I remember finding myself measuring out my food, even once I started working with her and everything. Like I was still kind of hoping that this is just a phase, you know, and I will just get back to that old lifestyle of mine and I will get back on the wagon, quote unquote, and I will do it. And I think like the moment where I truly surrendered to my recovery, I remember it because we had just gotten back from a vacation, my husband and I, and it was last year in June. So I think last year in June was the day where I decided I will throw out my food scale. I will not weigh myself anymore, and I will just go with the flow and do what my body needs to do, which is take a lot of rest, eat a lot of food, and be kind to myself.
Okay, so then what happened next then? I'm sure it wasn't easy because you don't know what to do. If you have lived by all sorts of rules all the time, and then now you tell yourself that the kitchen skill doesn't even exist anymore. I'm not going to measure out my food. I'm not going to follow any diet. There must have been a lot of confusion. How did you handle this confusion?
It was really hard. People ask me a lot, because they're like, oh, I deleted my Fitness Pal, but I still can't stop measuring my food, and I have so much compassion for them because it was really, really hard for me. Once you spend so many years of your life measuring out every single morsel of food you put in your body, it's terrifying to even think that you can't, like, you put some, even if it's like chicken breast, you put it on your plate and you don't know how many grams that is. Like, it really freaks you out. And I think people only understand it if they've been through that. So for me, the months before I actually threw out the food scale, I tapered it back. So I would measure out all my meals except one. So I would have one untracked meal a day, and then I would go up to 2 meals, and then up to 3, and up to 4. So then in July, I said, okay, I have to be all in, because otherwise in 60 years, I'll still be here measuring out my chicken breast, and this isn't the life I want to live. Like, I want to live a happy, free life. And even after that, I mean, it was still a struggle, right? Because it's kind of terrifying to see your body change. Gaining weight was the hardest part of it, body image, also the hardest part of recovery. But it's just so necessary to do that. So I think for me, it was just, I kept telling myself that this is for the greater good. This is for my health, and I clearly wasn't healthy the way I used to live. So, this was kind of my last resort. I'm like, I need to do this because there's no other fix anymore. I've tried it all, and nothing helped. So this is like, I'm surrendering to it completely. I'm surrendering to what my body's going to decide to look like. And I'm also surrendering to my hunger signals. So I'm not saying that it's easy. I guess like every second day was maybe a little easier. Every other day was still super freaking hard. But it just takes time. It got better with time. I think it took about 6 months for me to be like more chill about what I'm actually eating and not really thinking back to my meals anymore, like just eating and then moving on, instead of eating something and then trying to like calculate the macros and like obsessing over how much I ate and all that stuff. So it's really all about, first of all, remembering why you're doing that. And then second of all, being kind and compassionate to yourself and just giving yourself time, being patient with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So you have been really, really brave, posting a lot of pictures of you on Instagram mostly, and really beautiful pictures of a really beautiful woman. Everything is, what you do is so sincere and so honest, and I think so many women appreciate it because they see that they are not alone. I feel like there's so much of this fitness industry that only talks about six-pack abs. Yesterday I read an article, how to finally get those six-pack abs, and I couldn't help but responding to this article.
You too?
Let's just start from, do we need those six-pack abs, right?
Yeah.
So I think what you've been doing is really great, but do you find that posting those pictures in your sports bra, showing your body, has it made it easier for yourself to accept yourself the more you do it?
That's a good question. I think it does, but it's more about what I write in the captions and then what other people write to me in the captions. So I was thinking, I didn't always post pictures of my recovered body back in the day, even just a couple months ago. I would basically post my food, I would post my workouts, and, maybe I would post like a transformation post where, I showed my old self with my six-pack abs and then my new self, but fully clothed. So I was kind of ashamed to share my recovered body, especially because I work in the fitness industry, and the fitness industry, unfortunately, is really messed up. All personal trainers are supposed to look a certain way, and I just didn't look the part anymore. So I was really ashamed, but then I kept thinking, I need my message to reach more people, and I need this to be more powerful. So how am I going to do this, right? So I just posted like one picture of my recovered body and it just got so much positive feedback. And I just realized that I think people need to actually see the image of what a recovered body can look like for some people, in order to find themselves in my story and in order to be a little bit kinder to themselves too. So I wouldn't say that this was the one catalyst that helped me in my recovery, definitely not. But seeing how my message impacts people definitely like makes a difference in my life and helps me to keep going and helps me to have a little more compassion for myself every single day.
Yeah, I think that's great. So you are also a trainer. How did you, was it hard for you? Did you ever think that, okay, am I going to be judged? Are my clients going to leave me? Do they think that I'm not
Every day.
good? Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Every day. I still struggle with that. I mean, I have to be honest. Like I said earlier, fitness trainers, usually when we look in magazines or on social media, they just look, I mean, they have a very low body fat percentage. I want to go away from using the words perfect because this is just what society is telling us perfection looks like. So they have a very lean body. They have six-pack abs. They have their muscles are popping and they're also really tanned. So this is what fitness trainers are supposed to look like. And especially because I used to look like that, it's definitely hard for me to, to have integrity, I guess, and to put myself out there and be confident enough. I think I still come across as very confident, but I definitely doubt myself, and I still do, because now my clients sometimes are way leaner than me. So, I have thoughts like, how are they going to trust me and how are they going to trust into like my workout methods if they're actually leaner than me and their goal is to be lean, right? So a lot of people hire trainers because they want to look like them. And, for me, maybe that's not the case anymore. So it's definitely a big struggle of mine. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm going to put myself out there and maybe we can start a new movement of fitness trainers that are fit and healthy without actually having 9% body fat and a six-pack. And there's nothing wrong with that. It never worked for me to maintain that lean body, right? So I think, it's definitely hard because I don't look the part anymore. But at the same time, we should maybe shift a little bit to looking the part being just a healthy, normal looking body. Mm-hmm. So hopefully one day that will be the case.
Yes, and I think that's why it's so important to do the work that we're doing, that, showing that also fitness trainers are normal people and they don't walk around with six-pack abs all the time, or maybe never. And that doesn't mean that they are weak or unhealthy or they don't know their job. Right. It doesn't mean any of that. And plus we are all genetically really, really different. Like I personally, I know even when I was my leanest, I never had really lean abs because I look at my parents and I can tell that, I may be maybe if I was like really extremely low body fat, then could be. But it's going to be way harder for me to ever achieve that. So, and also one of the things that, I was thinking, are people going to leave me? No, nobody has left me. And I feel like a couple of people who were not following me before on Instagram and are following me now, they find me because of it, because of the mindset that I have right now. And I think they appreciate it. And I mean, if there's somebody who thinks that you don't know your work, you don't do your job well based on that you don't have six-pack abs, I mean, there's plenty of trainers they can go to.
Yeah. Right? Absolutely. And I think you're right. I don't think people actually think that way. I think it's just all our own insecurities. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely, we just get into our own heads about it. I don't think, people would actually leave a trainer because their body has changed, especially when they know what our message behind it is. So I definitely think people appreciate that. And we just have to believe in ourselves a little bit more for sure.
Yeah. And we all go through different phases in lives, right? Like you said, sometimes your clients are leaner than you are. Yeah. And sometimes they're stronger than we are. And that's fine. Like we all have different capabilities, priorities, things like that. Our lives change all the time. And
I couldn't agree more. So beautifully.
So when you started eating more, letting go of your restrictions, excessive exercise, then how did it change you? Like, I mean, did it make you feel better? Did you feel more relaxed? And what kind of physiological changes you noticed? Did you feel it better?
So I remember when I started my recovery, I talked to my coach and she told me to just take a few weeks off exercise completely in order for my period to come back. And I was like, no, I don't have to do that. No, you're full of crap. So actually, I went and researched the heck out of it. And I read so many things on the benefits of taking a long rest period for somebody that has been suffering from overexercise. So I just decided to give it a go. So 6 weeks, I didn't train at all. I went for a few walks. It also helped that I was with my family in Germany at the time, so I didn't really have access to a gym anyways. So that definitely helped in just taking it easy, taking it slow. I just slept a lot and I let myself eat. So at the start, that was really hard, but I just thought for those 6 weeks, I'm just going to do it. So see how I still had kind of that dieting mindset, because I was like, okay, for the next 6 weeks, I can do it. After that, I'm going to go straight back to my clean eating or whatever. But I just gave it a go. And I wouldn't say that I felt amazing because I missed the gym. I was clearly addicted to it. I was addicted to the endorphins. I was addicted to the feeling that it gave me to train. But I just had to, like I said earlier, remind myself that it's just for the greater good. And I just really wanted to get my period back because I want to have children one day. So those 6 weeks were definitely the catalyst for my period to come back. But it did take a few more months of just easing back into workouts, maybe working out once a week or twice a week, or maybe just going to yoga, like just really instead of structuring my workouts, going with the flow and eating more food. So the physiological changes, obviously I put on some weight. I'm not weighing myself anymore, but I believe I probably put on about 30 pounds. And I put on a lot of fat, which I wasn't used to because I was so lean. My muscle definition kind of faded away. I have to say that my skin cleared up, which is amazing because I had a lot of acne and breakouts before that. And then a few months in, my period came back. And I do have to say that it was very, very, very painful because I didn't have it for so long. And it came back after that to every couple of months. And nowadays it's every month. And it was still pretty bad at the start because I didn't have my period for so long. So I think it just took my body time to actually balance out my hormones. So all my periods were very, very painful. So that was another physiological change that my body had to go through. My hair started growing back. My fingernails started growing back. My skin just became more glowing, I think. I didn't look like pale and ill anymore, which only if I look back on pictures now do I realize that. So definitely a lot of changes, some of them hard to accept, but necessary. And some of them beautiful.
Yeah, what you said about hair and skin. I know some girls who have also done bikini competitions, and their hair is just like falling out like crazy. Yeah. And they're like looking for the next treatment or the next supplement to take. Yeah. All you have to do is eat food.
Totally.
That mostly does the trick. And there's really it's normal reaction from our bodies, right? If it's underfed, it's turn off these functions and
that are necessary for survival.
Because we can live without periods. Yeah. We're not going to die. We can live without hair. We're not going to die. Exactly. But we can't live without breathing, right? That's why we can still breathe and so on. So
Totally. I
Oh,
think
really?
too that one more thing, I think too
Yeah.
that when it comes to people seeking out treatment for that, I did that too. So I went to my doctor, told them that I went to two different ones and told them that I'm not getting my period. And both of them wanted to put me on the pill. And I was on the pill before and it never truly agreed with me. So I just didn't want to go on the pill. So then I decided to go to a naturopath and they just basically sold me like 8 supplements, which some of them were hormones like DHEA. And because, they told me that I have adrenal fatigue and that I just need to take this, and then I need to take this supplement and this supplement and that. So I took all of that and nothing helped. The only thing that helped me was eat more and exercise less.
Yeah, that really is the magic
Yeah,
that you need.
totally.
I want to come back one moment to your Instagram post. So I know a couple of weeks ago, you got some not so nice response from people, and it was really devastating. It was really hard to see. You were pretty upset, and I totally understand. So do you want to talk a little bit about what happened and why did it happen?
Totally. So I posted a transformation post, which doesn't look like most transformation posts because the before picture was a shredded version of myself. And the after picture was me sitting down with my belly rolls, not a flattering angle at all. I was basically just sitting there and I took the picture. And I talked about, my recovery. And at first it got a lot of support, like all my posts do, which I'm really thankful for. But then it started to get shared by bigger platforms where people don't follow me. So my post got shared, which on one hand is wonderful because more people see the message, more people have access to it. But it also opens up, a whole other thing where people feel attacked almost by what I say. And I say that now after taking a few days off social media and kind of, trying to understand where they came from. So I got a lot of hateful comments, which most of them were from women. And they basically said that, they feel attacked because they have a fit body and I'm basically just bullying them for it, and they live a healthy lifestyle, and only because I decided to, put on weight or whatever, doesn't mean that I'm healthy, and this isn't what health looks like. Other people said that I'm full of crap and I just, I take the role of a victim and I just victimize myself and this isn't a good message to put out there. So it was just some horrible, horrible feedback. And what really broke my heart is that it was from women. So I didn't see a single comment made by a man. And that just really upset me because, first of all, I went through so much and I'm putting myself out there in order to help somebody that is maybe struggling right now, but also because I have so much compassion for them, because I think like a couple of years ago, I would have seen a post like that. I mean, I would have never ever commented underneath because that's just not what I would ever do, but I would probably disagree, right? So I think some people just felt really threatened because I was exposing their lifestyle as being something that is disordered. And, they were just not ready to hear the message. So they just decided to respond negatively. So it was definitely really hard for me because I think it's human nature that you get 300 positive reviews of something or, positive responses to something and you get 5 negative ones and all you focus on is the negative stuff and you start to doubt yourself. So I definitely took a few days off. I doubted everything that I had built up, my whole business. I didn't know like whether or not I should keep going because I thought that, maybe my message just isn't, maybe people just aren't ready for it. So I took a few days off, and the support I got in those few days of people messaging me and telling me to keep going was overwhelming. To say the least. And it just made me realize that, yes, my message is being heard. It's just being heard by the people that need it. And some people are just not where I am, and that's okay. So it definitely was an interesting experience. And I think if I will continue to put myself out there like this, I will have to get used to people disagreeing with me because they feel threatened. right? So yeah, it was definitely really hard to take for me, because sometimes I go through days where I miss my old body and I wish that I could just go back to that restrictive lifestyle, which are totally those eating disorder thoughts from the past coming up, because I know I would never go back. But I think like those people, their comments just really hit a nerve inside of me and made me a little bit more insecure about it all. But it was for the best. It was for the best, and I learned from it.
I think if you're influencing as many lives as you are influencing right now, it comes anyway. You are going to get some shit sometimes. And I think it's a good thing, because you're so controversial for some people, right? Mm-hmm. Like 95% people absolutely love you. And then there's this 5%, it's a small percentage, and they may think what you want, but think about all the good people, all the people that you're helping with your message. And
thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to.
What matters. That's what really matters. Yeah.
I think so too. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. You're doing a great job. I really appreciate it. Would you say that right now you have found your balance with food and exercise?
Most days. I definitely sometimes struggle a little bit with my work-life balance. So sometimes I find myself going, instead of having those disordered thoughts, going to an extreme with my work. So I would just work like 20 hours a day, it feels like. So I feel like sometimes I'm shifting towards becoming a workaholic now. And I think it's definitely like, it's like a personality thing. And you can probably find yourself in that, because you're very similar to me. We're like perfectionist type A people. We want to please everyone. We want to like appear perfect. So like sometimes I think it happens that you just start shifting to another obsession. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely very, very aware of that. So I'm definitely working on that. When it comes to food and exercise, I don't know if what I'm doing now is balanced, but it is the most balanced state I ever lived in my entire life. And for that, I'm very proud of that. I don't know if, a year from now, I'm probably going to look back and think, oh, maybe I wasn't as balanced as I thought I was. But right now, I'm really happy with my progress.
Right. So do you also work with people right now? If somebody feels that I could use Rini's help so much, do you work with them, and how do you do that?
So it's funny you bring that up, because I am actually launching my first online course in March. Yeah, I'm really excited. And I'm also going to be launching one-on-one coaching. It's more on a mentoring basis. So I'm definitely, I'm not a psychologist, but my credentials are that I lived through that shit and I went through it. Exactly. And I decide. So my 4-week online course will be based around how to find balance with food and exercise. And it's sort of like a starting point for people that are a little bit further along in their recovery. Maybe they've been to treatment, or maybe they worked with people that didn't really help them. So now they're looking for somebody that actually has the full-on experience. So into this course, I basically packed all of my resources that have helped me along the way in my recovery. When it comes to people that, have a certain message that resonated with me, whether that's something scientific that helped me, I packed in there what helped me get my period back. So definitely lots of things that are really helpful, and it's pretty intense too. So I'm definitely excited to see if it resonates with people. I've never worked with people online before, so this will be my first time. And I'm kind of, I'm scared, but really excited about it. So that'll be fun.
Yes, I'm excited too. So we can look forward to it. In March, you said?
Yes. March? So I'm looking to launch. I believe it'll be the Monday, March 5th, if I'm correct.
All right. Put it in your calendars.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay. Is there anything I didn't ask you, but you would like to mention before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I just want to say that I think you're such an amazing human being, and I'm so glad that we connected. It's just amazing to find people that have been through exactly what you've been through, and now you're using your experience to help so many people along the way. So I just want to say that I acknowledge you for that. I'm really proud of you for putting yourself out there, and I'm really grateful for you.
All right. Thank you. Likewise. Also, one more thing. Where can we find you?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram at ownitbabe. I am on Facebook, ownitbabe, and my website is ownitbabe.ca. So it's not .com, it's .ca because I'm Canadian. And that's basically where you can find me, mostly on Instagram though.
All right, everybody, go check out Rini's work on Instagram and her website. And I really hope you enjoyed this little talk. I know I sure did. And thank you, Rini. I'll talk to you next time.
Bye. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Kirsten.